Hello YouTube, this is BP Baggett once more. Man, this is a really zoomed in look. Let me see if I can fix this real quick. Let's see. Yep. Much better. Anyhow, this is a kind of a late night thing. I wanted to do it earlier today, it's just I had my 3 boys, they're all awake, and I needed to take care of them before I did this. And as some of you may know, kids are, they are fun. So I had written this out about a week and a half ago, so I'm going to try to start planning my videos kind of like every 2 videos a week at least. I want to do one Friday, Saturday morning kind of thing, and then probably another one Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday. So I want to try to at least get 2 videos out a week. Like I said, not all things work out that way. So, but further ado, let's not get distracted too much. So, I found this, to give you a little background on this list, I found this world building reference on the internet not too long ago. I still have the doc, the file, and what I probably could do for you guys is I could put it in the description, and if you guys want to use it, feel free to go ahead. I don't hold any claim to it, so yeah, have at it, guys. So the kind of questions I came up with was kind of like a basic world building guide tag, I guess you could say. So the first one that I chose, because what I did is I went down the list and I chose 10 things that I could talk about and give you ideas from my world to where you guys can get an understanding how to do it, and also get an understanding about my fantasy world. As once again, I am in front of my map that I made. This is a 3 foot by 3 foot map. Just a little passion I had to do. I learned it from another guy, stormthecastle.com. They're on YouTube. Check them out. But anyway, so back to the questions, the little bullet points, if you will. So the first one I wrote down: stars, suns, and planets. When I think about my solar system, I think just one sun. Moons, I'd probably say there's about 8 or 9 moons. Of course, around Mina Bharata there is a moon, and the moon around Mina Bharata is similar to our moon. But being that no one ever goes up there, they just see it from afar. It looks like a big Swiss cheese in the sky. As far as planets, there's 10 planets in my solar system. I have not gotten around to naming each and every one of them, but eventually I will. So, maybe I'll talk about that another day. So the second bullet point I chose to talk about was natural formations. So, as you can see on the map, we have 2 continents. Okay. Of course, you have natural formations. That down here, there's 3 different plates that are colliding with each other, which creates this mountain range here. Look like a turtle. These little islands. This is a plate here, as you can say. We have mountains. We have rivers. There's lakes scattered about. There's huge desert over here on the south side over here. Over at this end, there's like a desert that goes like right here on the edge. There's volcanoes everywhere. Here, it shows as a whole right here, but in my story, that island actually blew up because of a supervolcano, and it's now called the Black Isles. So, and then down here, of course, you have the South Pole and the North Pole, and you guys are probably wondering what is what is this? Well, that I call the ice barrier. It's part of the mythology of the world. Um, there was a battle between the gods, and one of the gods, to stop the bad gods, created a barrier which destroyed all of his armies, but in the process it separated the world from north and south. Nobody from the north can cross this way, no one from the south can cross that way. There has been rumors of little tunnels here and there, but there is no truth to it. No one's found the truth yet. That's a future story. Anyway, so the next bullet point that I chose, number 3, is government building or castles. Government buildings would be more like our day steampunk, industrial age kind of things. Right now, my fantasy world is not to that point. Eventually, I will be doing a steampunk book, possibly, but that won't be until later on, and it will be involving my fantasy world. So it'll be steampunkish fantasy kind of thing. So most of the time, most of the stories that I talk about and write about refer to castles and cities and villages. Well, villages and towns and so forth. The only cities are large cities with castles and walls around it. So the next bullet point that I have written down here was countries, states, cities, planets. Well, it's not really a sci-fi, so that excludes planets. So, countries, as far as countries, there is 9 different countries in this island here, this land here. Over here is a fractured kingdom called Aeolin. They are on the last legs of their lifespan. And then over on the east side of this, there's a kingdom called Marcia. They are a very much isolationist empire, because they actually, it's an empire because they stretch all the way down here to the, and that's probably the size of Africa, if you wanted to understand the size of it. My planet is probably the size of Jupiter, if you want to get an idea about the size in comparison to our world. So you have Aelin on this side, Marcia on this side, and then you have down here the land of the Two Pharaohs. The Two Pharaohs, they rule this southern part here. They are, in some ways, allies to Aelin, but also in some ways they're enemies. Because down here in the south, there's this little city-state. I also use city-states. Within the kingdom of Aelin, there's actually 2 different governments, but they work for each other, but there's 2 different governments. So down here, the city of Slata, they're always in conflict with the 2 pharaohs. Well, one of the pharaohs. The 2 pharaohs are actually 2 brothers, and they're fighting for control. So they just call it the land of 2 pharaohs. So they're fighting over a city called Lamech. Lamech is pretty much a battleground now. There's not very many people live there. There's gold mines and diamonds there. That's pretty much most of the thing they're fighting for. So I utilize the idea of city-states and small princedoms and fiefdoms and so forth like that. So that's kind of the structure I have. Number 5, restrictions on travel. There's quite a few. For an example, put that down. Just to show you over here on this end, you might not be able to see it, but right here there's a mountain range. It looks like a mountain range of a turtle. It's in the shape of a turtle. This is actually a reservation. there was a war over here on this end. It was the dwarves. Well, they were gray dwarves, and they rose up against the humans because they thought the humans were gonna take everything from them, which in reality they did. Um, so these humans allied themselves with the elves. The elves gave the humans weapons and training, and they forced the dwarves onto this little reservation. Now, no human can go in there. No elf can go in there without a permit, and the permit has to be signed by their king or their magistrate, and it also has to be approved by the dwarven magistrate that's inside of here. Now, they're not restricted to have their. They can have their own army. They can have their own standing government and everything, but they cannot leave those mountains. It's just one of the stipulations. And then over here at this corner of the peninsula, continent, there's a kingdom called the Black Khan. If you want to picture them, they're like lightly armored knights that fight from horseback. They're called Black Khan knights or Black Knights because they wear black tinted armor, and they generally cater to the darker side of the Force. So there's a restriction there. You can't go there. They will kill you on sight. They do not accept outsiders at all. Over here in Marcia, they only give you, if you wanted to travel there, you have to get an approval from their magistrate, from their commerce to actually be allowed in, and then you're vetted. You're tested to see if you carry diseases, and if you do, or you have any kind of inclination that you have a disease or are subject to one of those, you're not let in. If you sneak in and they catch you, they behead you on the spot. They don't want any outsiders influencing their governments or anything. They actually have a wall that goes around the north part and one around the south part. They don't want anybody to get in, period. They do trade, but they only allow trade agreements for 5 years. And after those 5 years is up, no more trade agreements for you. They go to a different company, or they go with a different merchant. They only allow visas for 5 years, and that's it. That's how it is. Immigration, there is immigration, but like I said, there are certain restrictions in certain areas that people can't go to. Like, people can't cross here. People have tried, but they've died, and no one has ever seen them again. The elves, there's a gray elf kingdom here in this corner. They do not like to have anybody who's non-elf in their land. They're another group that's very anti-human. They don't agree with humans. They don't like them. They see humans as violent and too willing to fight. So they're up there in their beautiful gray castles, and they don't want anybody bugging them. But there is, they travel back and forth. The only restrictions that I've said are here, gray elves, and these guys over here. And of course, the barrier. We're number 7. Sorry, I haven't been naming these, but numbering these. We're on number 7. Common methods of travel. So, when you think fantasy, you think of common methods as a horse and buggy and so forth, and cows and stuff like that. Well, that's true in my world, with a couple exceptions. Earlier in my ancient history, they had these flying beasts that are called Balflagrons, and they were a horse-sized type dragon that only dragonkin can ride it. So that was one exception. And of course, you have large spiders in the Underdark, and you have huge dire wolves that you can ride. There's a couple of those you can ride around. You'll find in my world, there's a hybrid lion type beast that you can ride if you can tame it, if it doesn't bite your head off first. They're very temperamental and they don't like anybody that walks on two legs. Alright, so number 8, staple foods. Your staple foods would be, beef, pork, chicken, fish. Those are pretty much staple items. And then you have the exotic, lizards and snakes and exotic scorpions that you can get from the Underdark. Or you can get a couple of deer venison from the forest if you don't mind being chased by the wood elves. So, yeah. As far as magic, it's number 9. Magic it's the hard system, or is it soft system? I get confused sometimes, but it's where people can use it without really having too much of a damage on them. And anybody can use, in my world, anybody can use magic, but you have to have the aptitude to actually learn it and to actually train with it. So, sorry I had an issue with the phone. So there's destructive magic and healing magic, and that's some of the things that will drain you in my world. There's also restorative magic, and those are the ones that really don't drain you as much. So number 10, major religions. So there's several major religions that I talk about. One is the Secta Corel, and their headquarters is over here in this land. They have a massive following, and they have chapels and churches and priests everywhere. But they also have a hand in everything too. So they manipulate kingdoms and princedoms and nobles to do what they want. Then there's a group called the Red Horde. They worship the Red Shadow, and they are a force to be reckoned with. They have conquered most of the low islands here, and they've conquered this main island, which is their home island, and they moved inland all the way up into the border of the Black Khan. And there they are trying to work on an alliance with the Black Khan. And then you have a small sect, and they worship the god Malenka. Malenka is the god of shadow, the god of death. And people, like anything, they worship him just because, and they fear him. And one of my main characters gets confused with a follower of Malenka. So, anyway, that's all 10 questions, or 10 bullet points that I have chosen to use or give an example of. Now, here's something else I want to talk about, is that when you're writing your fantasy story, you're writing your fantasy world, you're not just limited to pen and paper. It depends how far you want to go in creating your world. Me, I want to go as far as to where if people want to make a movie about my book, I have a plethora of documentation and items, content that they can build from. As an example, since the last time you saw this, I added 2 things to it. Well, 4 things. But these tomes that I'm making. So this is just an added feature to my fantasy world that I want to have available for people to buy. I'll sign it and send it to you, that kind of thing. And also, I'm also delving into making necklace charms. And this refers to my fantasy world. And this is a poison that's in my fantasy world. And also have this one, which are shards of a gem called the Grimlock gem. and I put shards inside the bottle. But not actually the real thing, but it gives you an idea what they look like in physical form. And then I have what they call Meldorian Mana. Helps restore health. Or not health, but magic, sorry. It's late and I'm tired. And also I'm looking to making a necklace out of the sword, as well as a letter opener. So, and this I carved and sculpted myself. And then I'm also doing bookmarks that I've sculpted and casted out of resin. So, when you're, like I said, when you're creating your fantasy world, the books don't stop you. You can continue with it and make other things. You could become crafty. You could learn how to become crafty. You could be an artist. I know a lot of people are artists. I'm not much of an artist myself. I just dabble in it. I mean, I'm not really great. Just to show you. Hold on a second. Bear with me. It's kind of falling apart. That book I had it for years. I've drawn my own maps. I've drawn my own book covers, and you might be made fun of because you do your own stuff, but there's a pride that goes with it. I feel more complete when I make my own stuff. I feel more at ease. So like I said, don't limit yourself. If you want to be crafty, then be crafty. Don't let somebody tell you, no, you can't do that. Learn how to do it, and do it. As long as you're not hurting anybody, not hurting yourself. I imagine if Tolkien had the aptitude to do this, I'm sure he would have made a lot of his own stuff too. So anyway, thank you guys for watching my late video. Like I said, I'll try to do more videos, probably twice a week, hopefully, if things work out alright. Thank you, and like, subscribe, comment, use the reference guide that I'll post in the description. I don't mind. And like always, stay crafty, everybody.